So this is two oversized action figures, one Marvel, one DC. And I guess the idea of this video was I wanted to find two very reasonably priced figures to do sort of a comparison between the DC and the Marvel. So this Marvel Legends Inhumans line I got for $9, and this DC I got for $3. So marked down from $7.99. And I was actually glad it was Katana because of all the characters in Suicide Squad, I thought she was the most interesting one, even though she had very little screen time. It was kind of a crime how little screen time she had. And this, I was pleased because if you look, the inside of his mouth is blue, which is just really cool. And that probably is what sold me. He also has an alternate head. And just a strange figure and an interesting kind of one of those crazy Marvel figures that Legends loves to bring out. They love to release the most obscure figures from the most obscure comics, and that is interesting because it gets you interested in the comic book. Like if you come across a Black Bolt comic, you know, now you have a little background. Here's some of the artwork showing Black Bolt, and it says supercharged powers and a quasic sonic scream let Black Bolt destroy enemies with a single utterance. So he sounds like a pretty powerful character. And there's a part for Okoye from Black Panther, or as I call her, Michonne, because it's the actress from The Walking Dead. So and the other characters in the wave are Black Panther, Killmonger, Nakia, the Submariner and Iron Man. And interestingly, it's a toss-up between the Submariner and the Human Torch as to which is the very first Marvel character ever. And I believe it's the Submariner. So that's a little interesting. So it would be kind of cool to get him if I ever come across him. The box is a little beat up, but that's okay because you're paying so much less. These are going at Walmart. The cheapest you can get them is $18.99. Now let's look at Katana. Once again, one of the more interesting characters from Suicide Squad, who was just tragically underused. They introduced her, gave her a great backstory, and then she was just in the background for the rest of the movie. And this figure is the same size, and DC is copying a lot of aspects of Marvel. The box is similar. The articulation is almost identical, and the detail of, at least of this line of DC figures, is pretty good, on par at least with the Marvel Legends. So this would be the third DC figure I have after Bizarro and the Joker, at least of this size, that is. So and I think I'm gonna start by opening Black Bolt first. And like the Marvel figures, there's a nice background. I think that is actually his logo because it matches what's on his costume here. And you could even keep this if you wanted to display it. Sorry about that. I know that makes a little noise. Okay. And here he is. And he's got little fins or wings, or maybe like amplifiers on him. And you can get into a great like shrieking pose here. That's probably how you should pose him. And there's a energy effect coming out of his head here. And then we're going to open Katana, get all the noise out of the way first, and then we'll get into posing the figures. Now, while we're at it, this also, both of them include Build-A-Figures. In this case, the Build-A-Figure is Croc, and Killer Croc or just Croc. And this comes with a head. And this also shows the other figures. At the same store where I bought this for $3, they had Boomerang. If it's still there next time, I might pick them up. Now, sorry about the noise. Interestingly, these both come with very similar background pieces. And for Katana, there's a sort of map or something, celestial map. It's a pretty little picture, and I might actually hold on to this because if you pop that in a frame, that would look really good on the wall. It's just a very interesting little picture background here. I really like it. Okay, what else comes with Killer Croc's butt? That's clearly what this piece is. And the head and the posterior. Here's Killer Croc. He has scales, which is pretty cool. Okay, one more loud sound. Okay, and that's it for the plastic. And now we have Katana. And what an awesome figure this is. Just probably of all of this line of Suicide Squad figures, probably the best. I'm not a big Harley Quinn fan. And when it comes to the Joker, I really like the Heath Ledger one best. But we'll wait and see how Joaquin Phoenix plays the Joker. Oops. Okay. So, I like her swords better in the little sheaths. The extra parts are articulated. You could almost give her, I mean, this is so similar. This just shows you, this is the leg from a female Marvel character, and as you can see, DC is at almost exactly the same skill and workmanship. Very interesting. Let's go over articulation first. Has this very cool ball joint in the shoulder, and it has all kinds of range of movement. He's wearing these very cool gauntlets too. He's got two fists, which is kind of annoying, which means he can't really hold anything. He can just punch. His head is very movable. Nods, turns. He has the articulation in the chest, the waist. Then on the legs, he has a ball joint in the pelvis, then a cut joint here in the thigh, Then he has this basically a kneecap, and he has ball jointed ankles. So a great articulation package here. Now let's look at the katana. She has a ball, but it's not as complicated as Black Bolt. Her hair is a separate piece, so they can have the effect of the hair draping over the mask. She has ball hinge shoulders, very similar to Marvel. Same kind of elbow. She doesn't have fists. She can actually hold her weapons. She has a swivel wrist. She also has the chest joint. She has a scar on her stomach. She has a cut joint in the waist. She has cut joint hips instead of the ball joint. But look, it's got this hinge joint, so she can move her legs out. She has the kneecap. No, she just has it. She doesn't have the kneecap. She has a regular hinge in the knees, and I think that's a ball hinge in the ankles, but it's very tight, and I don't want to force it. So the articulation is not quite as good as Black Bolt, but it's still pretty good, and it's very good for a DC figure. She has all of the symbols on her outfit. Very, very cool. You can, the good thing is that you can pose her swords either up or across, and they hold very nicely in this sash that she's wearing. You can take the swords out and arm her. Now I'm gonna find. There we go. So, and this actually is a separate piece that could come off. Sort of sash that she's wearing around her shoulders. It just looks kind of cool. Probably want to pose her holding her swords. It just looks better. You could get her in some great poses. Whereas with him, he's incredibly posable, and almost all of his poses just show action. You could also use this alternate head where he's settling down, he's not screaming. I have to admit, this is a poser. This action figure is just good for posing. It's just a very, very cool figure. If I do manage to find all the other pieces for Killer Croc, that would be kind of cool, because he looks like he's got some posability. It's all I have of Killer Croc at this point. So, two very cool figures. just for comparison's sake, this is my other DC figure. Essentially from the same line with the same sort of articulation, which is Bizarro. Just one of my favorites. I mean, you gotta have a Bizarro figure. He's very cool. I've always wanted one. Everything's backwards. He's pale and pasty, but in all respects looks like a classic Superman. Just a messed up Superman. And the Joker from The Dark Knight, the controversial Joker. When this figure came out, they didn't make very many of them, so people were hoarding them and trying to sell them on eBay for $300. So actually, I guess it was Mattel put out a whole bunch of them just to flood the market, so people wouldn't. They just didn't like the idea of people selling these Heath Ledger Jokers, trying to exploit on Heath Ledger's sudden death. This is still one of my favorite figures. Just like the simple details. It doesn't have the best articulation, but I mean, do you really want to get the Joker in poses like this? I mean, it's kind of silly. This is just how you want your Joker to be. Very small knife in his hand. I still have it tied because the knife is so small. I'm just afraid it'll get vacuumed up. Put him back. Let's put Bizarro back. I do like this chest joint that you find in the Marvel Legends and the new DC figures. Okay, Bizarro back. Okay. So, 2 new figures from my oversized comic book figure collection. 2 good figures. Probably my favorite Suicide Squad, possibly the only Suicide Squad action figure I ever buy. I just wasn't very impressed with the movie or the figure line. I mean, I know everyone went to see Harley Quinn. I was much more intrigued by Katana. I was much more intrigued by Boomerang, even though I didn't like the figure very much. I was much more intrigued by Slipknot, and he died right in the very beginning. There was just things about Suicide Squad. I felt like it was trying to be like a Deadpool, like a DC version of Deadpool, to a great extent, like Shazam too. But Deadpool was Deadpool. Deadpool worked largely because of Ryan Reynolds' appealing performance. I don't think the quirky humor was the only reason. So, anyway. See what other poses you can get out of this guy. Let's go ahead and see what the calm head looks like on him. It's kind of hard to put it on. I'm almost afraid I'm going to break it. You could almost put Killer Croc's head on. To tell you the truth, I don't even think I'm going to display it with the calm head. I think I'm just going to put this one back on because these heads are a little worrisome. I'm afraid I'm going to break it by swapping them out. I've heard of that happening a lot with figures. I also like how you can manipulate him here, and he has, it sort of looks like wings better like this. Actually like that better, that effect. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. and please rate, comment, subscribe.